Good day. Today we have to make lab number 2 of the lesson number 7. The topic is single dimensional arrays. So we have 3 tasks within one lab, within lab number 2. 3 tasks. Let's think of them. The first one, create a function with the name FillRandomArray to fill an array of 10 elements with random numbers in the range from -10 to 15. So we need to create this function with this name, and it has to fill our array with the random numbers. What does it mean? We will see. The second task, create another function called PrintArray to output the array. So we need to fill array and to print them out. And one more task, create the function divisible by 3 to count and output the elements divisible by 3. It means that we have to look for the elements divisible by 3 and to print them out. So let's look at the result examples. They are what we are going to see in console window after we run our program. So the first line will be just a word array. Then we have a sequence of numbers, integer numbers. They are the elements of our array. Then we have this line, elements divisible by 3, and there are the elements divisible by 3 from our array. First one 3 divisible by 3, 6, then 12, then and 9. And after the last line of our program will be number of elements divisible by 3 equals to 4. There are 4 numbers of elements. Of these elements. So let's take the first task and we will do this task. We need to create this function, this method, and we have to pass to this method the array, and this method, inside of this method, we need to generate the numbers for our array. There is a very useful random function within the C# syntax. Random function generates the numbers within some boundaries, using some boundaries. So we need to have a lower bound and upper bound. This is lower bound and this is upper bound. It means that random numbers will be between these two numbers. So it will be greater than -10 and less than 15. So let's do this task. First task of our lab. We have a lab. We call it the namespace call just as our project has the name, and class equals to program. We have a program named this name as we have in our task, so we have it the same. So let's declare our array. Let's declare it. First we have to declare it in the main function, inside the main function, and we have to specify the type of the elements of our array. So it will be integer elements, and we put here int. Int means that it will be integer, and now we have to tell C# that it will be array, so we need square brackets. It means array. And then we have to call our function. We know the name of this function. We can copy it and paste it here. It is the name of our array. Oh, I'm sorry, not function. Of our array will be called, let's call it R, just R. Meaningful name it is clear that it will be array error, and then equal to, then we have to put the keyword new and again specify the type of our array integer type and square brackets, but inside these square brackets we have to place the number of our elements, how many elements will be. We know that it will be 10 elements inside our array, so we have to put here 10. It's just a declaration of our array without any assignment. We don't have any assignment. We don't have any value inside this array. We just know that there will be 10 elements, and we don't know yet the values of these elements. So we need to create this function to fill the array's elements. Let's copy it. We are going to create it after our main method or before it. Let's do it after. We need to put static keyword. Then we have to use void because our function will not return any value. It just takes this array as a parameter. It will take this array as a parameter. So we need to put here the first parameter, r. And we have to say that it is integer, that it is array, and the name. Let's do it int. It is array, and the name of our parameter is r. Then, look, we have to set the bounds for our random function. It is lower bound, it is upper bound. So let's call them min value and max value. They are integers, they are numbers. Int, let's call it min value for lower bound, comma, max value for upper bound. And then curly braces for the body of our method. Of course, we need int. We have a red underlining because we need to specify the type of this int. No underlining. Okay, now we are going to generate the elements for our array. So we need to use random function, random number generator, but first we need to instantiate random number generator to use some variable to make it an instance of a random object. So it is maybe is not clear for you, but let's do it. Let's try to do it. We need to put random keyword. Then let's call this variable for instance, for to be instance, let's call it rand. Then equals to the word new, keyword new, then again random, and brackets. So we will use this rand variable as random function, just to generate every number for each of our elements. So to iterate over the elements of our array, we need to use some loop. Let's take the loop for. It has its own counter, so we need to initialize it. Let's take I variable, initialize it by 0. Then we have to do the repetitions of our for loop until I gets the value of 9, because from 0 to 9 will be 10. So we need I less than 10. It will be 9. And then I plus plus. The body of our for loop has to be inside curly braces. And here we need to assign to each of our elements of our array, to assign, to generate for it some number. How to do it? We need to put here our array name and then index of each element. How to use index of each element? We have to use this counter. It will be 0, the first element, then it will be the 1, the second element 2, and so on up to 9, because less than 10. So it will be assigned. Now we use random function, this variable, and we have a method next. Next means that we generate a new number, but we have to use here the boundaries. So the lower bound and the upper bound. We know that we can use, instead of the numbers, we can use these parameters, mean value and max value. So we need to put it here, put them here, separated by commas, max value, and that's all. So this line means that each iteration, each repetition, we have the first repetition we have here R0. It means that it will be the first element of our array, and we are going to generate a number for this element, to generate it between this minus 10 it will be, and this 15 it will be, because we have it in our task. We have it here, minus 10 and 15. So now it is just parameters, but we need to pass them from out our main method. Okay, it will be the first, then the second iteration, it will be index 1, and so on up to 9. Yes, it is a command just for you to understand. Okay, we have this FillRandom method, and we can call it. We can call it from our main method. We can call it here. So if it doesn't return any value, because we have here void, we can call it just by name. We type here the name of our method, and then we have to pass all of these three parameters. The first parameter is an array. We have it here, so we need to pass it. We need to put here array. Then we need to pass mean value. It is a lower bound. We have it minus 15. Yes, minus 10. I'm sorry, minus 10. And the upper bound is 15. It will be max value. So when we run our program, when we start it, the new array will be declared, and compiler will run this method, and it will pass minus 10. It will be replaced, mean value will be replaced by minus 10, and max value will be replaced by 15. And now we have here the for loop, and each element of our array will be generated by the C#, and it will have some integer value between min value, so it is -10, and max value, it is 15. And that's all. If we run our program, we will not see anything in our console window because we don't print out anything. We need, let's check it. So Control F5. We don't have anything in our console window. So because we have a second task here, we need to create another function, PrintArray, to output the array. So now we need to create this function with the name PrintArray. Let's copy it and let's create it after our FillRandomArray method, after this curly brace for FillRandomArray. Again, we need to type static keyword, static. Again, void, because our function PrintArray will not return anything to the program, will not return any value. It will just print out all of our elements. So we need our array as a parameter to print it out. We need it here. So we have to say that it is integer, that it is array, and let's call it again array. And we have to place the body of our function. Here we need again for loop or for each loop. By the way, this is not very good when we put here number 10. We know that the number of elements 10 is 10. There are 10 elements, but it is better to use the property length of our array. So let's do it here. It will be better. It will be much more better to use the length. So we need for. Again, we have to initialize the counter of our loop, and then we will put a bit another way. Not 10. We can't put here 10, but it is not good. We have to use air.length. Length is the property of our array. It means that how many numbers will be within the array, how many elements will be. There are 10 of them, so it is better to use here also. It isn't an error, but it is not good. It is not universal program if we use here the number. It is better to use this. Let's put it here also. And one more, we have to iterate our counter for the loop and the body of the loop. And we just need to print out our element, each element, using their indexes. To access every element, we need to use this index. Instead of index, we use the counter from 0 up to 9, up to 10, but not just less than 10, so it will be 9. So let's do it. Console write line, we need to print out. Then we use $sign, and inside the curly braces we need our array name, and in square brackets we need to put the index of each element. So we need to use this counter I to iterate over our array. And let's make it here the space, because we need the spaces. If we don't have them, we will see what it will be in the console window. So what we are going to do now, let's look in our program. We need to print out this word. Yes, first to print out, so we need console window, just the word array, and then we need to print out our array, this one. It is generated array. We don't know what it will be, only C# knows it. So we have to call this method. It is void method, so it will not return anything, and we can call it by its name. Just to call the name and to pass this parameter, we need to pass our array. It is already generated, so it has already elements and the values for these elements. So we just need to pass. So we can run our program and we will see what there will be. Let's run it. Okay, we have array and these array elements. There are 10 of them, and always when we run our program it will be different because the generated numbers are different always. You see, another sequence of elements, and one more time another sequence of elements. Every time we have another sequence of elements. It is very useful and convenient. So we have two tasks. We have done two tasks and we have one more. To create the function divisible by 3, to count and output the elements divisible by 3. So we need to call our function divisible by 3, and this function has to look for the elements within our array which are divisible by 3 and to print them out, and also to count them, how many of them will be within our array. So let's create this function. Let's copy the name of this function. Again, we have to put this function, for example, after our last method, PrintArray. So the closing curly brace of our method, and then static. It will not again return anything, so we have to put void, the name pasted, and we have to pass our array. We need array as a parameter, but we need to specify that it is an integer array and it is an array, and after we have to put curly braces. Inside, within the body of this function, we have to iterate over our elements, and we have to find the elements which are divisible by 3. How to do it? We can use for loop, but it will be better to check how it will work with for each loop. We didn't use it, and let's try for each. We have to use here the variable to take the elements of our array one by one. Just to take the first element, then the second, to take the values of the elements. So let's call it x, and we have to name our to put here the name of our array. That x in array. X will be the first iteration. It will be the first element with the index 0. Then it will be the second element with index 1, then it will be the third element with index 2, and so on. So x is the element of our array, one by one, each element. So we need to check if it is to check to see if it is divisible by 3. How to do it? We have to use if statement. If in these brackets we need to put the condition if x is divisible by 3. How to do it? If x, it is an element of our array, percentage 3 equals to 0. What does it mean? It means that 0, it is the remainder after the division x by 3. If the remainder after the division x by 3 equals to 0, so x is divisible by 3. What we have to do here? We need to output, to print out this element, yes? To count and to output these elements. So we need to print out our x. Just CV, console write line, double tap, and to output it. To output, let's do it with $sign to do it beautiful. And here we need curly braces, x, and let's do it not right line but right. Right, it means that it will be in one line, within one line. Every element will be in one line, not every element in each line, but in one line. And not to make them split it together, we have to put here the space. Okay, and let's do it here also. It will be more beautiful, and space again. Okay, we will output it, and let's see. We have to call our method here, but before we need to put here this line, elements divisible by 3. Let's copy it, console write line, paste it here. Okay, and now we can call our method. We need one parameter, our array. It is our array. One parameter array. Okay, and now we can we can see what will be what result will be in our console window. Elements divisible by 3, only one of them. Let's look. Yes, it is only one of them. Let's run it again one more time. Another sequence, to have another sequence, Control F5. Now we have another sequence, and we have more elements divisible by 3. It is 6, minus 3, minus 6, and minus 3, this one. So we see that it is not very beautiful because we have this sentence in the same line. We need to put here another line. So let's do it. We have it here, PrintArray, and this has to be in different line. So let's do it, console write line. Just empty console write line means that it will be another line. Okay, and what we need? One more. We need number of elements. We need to count them. So inside our method, the last method, we need to count these elements. Not only just print them out, but to count. So we need to use some counter, int counter. The counter equals initialized with 0 value always. And then when we find this element which is divisible by 3, we have to increase our counter, counter plus plus. And we have to output it also, console write. Let's copy it, console write. Here we have it is better to right line use, and we have to put this instead of this. Number of elements divisible by 3 is, and here we have to put our counter, the value of this variable counter. So let's run our program one more time. Now we have array, the sequence of elements divisible by 3 minus 6. Let's look. Yes, it is only this one. And number of elements divisible by 3 is 1. And again we see that it is better to use new line here. So before number of elements divisible by 3, we have to put console write line. So before this number of elements, we have to put console write line, and that's all. Let's look one more time. It isn't good, because every number we have divisible by 9, number divisible by 1, 2, 3. Each time we have, of course, it is my mistake. We don't need to output our counter within this if statement and within this for each loop. Of course, after the loop, when we count all of these elements, we need to put these 2 lines. Yes, because we saw that it is not correct, but now it is correct. Let's look. Yes, the number of elements divisible by 3 is 3. There are 3 of them, and everything is correct. So now it is correct, and I wish you good luck with this program. So do it now yourself by yourself, and goodbye.